If you are a man over 60 and you are losing muscle, gaining fat, and feeling weaker every single year, this video is going to change everything you thought you knew about getting stronger after 60. Creatine and vitamin D3 are the two most underused supplements for men over 60, and when you combine them the right way, the science shows you can rebuild muscle mass, increase bone density, and reverse physical decline even in your 60s, 70s, and beyond. Most men are taking these supplements completely wrong and getting zero results. I am going to show you the exact protocol, the exact doses, and the exact timing that actually works. And I have linked the best creatine I personally use in the description, so make sure you check that out. Stay with me because the most important part comes at the end, and you do not want to miss it. Why your muscles are disappearing, and it is not because of your age. Here is something that is going to frustrate you, and it should. You have been told your entire life that losing muscle after 60 is just part of getting older. Your doctor probably said it. Your friends probably say it. Society definitely says it. Sit down, relax, take it easy. You are not 20 anymore. Well, I need you to hear me on this. That is one of the most dangerous lies in modern health, and the science proves it. Starting around the age of 30, your body begins losing muscle mass at a rate of about 3 to 8% per decade. That sounds manageable, right? But here is where it gets ugly. After you cross 60, that rate does not just continue. It accelerates. A 2022 study published in the journal Age and Aging found that men between 60 and 70 can lose muscle mass up to twice as fast as men in their 40s. And by the time you hit 75, you may have lost nearly 30% of the muscle you had at your peak. 30%. That is not aging gracefully. That is a structural collapse happening in slow motion. But wait, here is the part that most people do not know, and it is genuinely shocking. The primary driver of this muscle loss is not just aging itself. It is something called anabolic resistance. Now stay with me because this is important. When you are young, your muscles respond beautifully to protein. You eat a steak, your body says, fantastic, let us build some muscle. But as you age, your muscle cells become stubborn. They start ignoring the protein signal. Your body is literally eating the same food, doing the same exercises, and your muscles just shrug and say no thank you. Researchers at the University of Nottingham confirmed this phenomenon and found that older adults need significantly more stimulus to trigger the same muscle protein synthesis that a younger person gets almost effortlessly. Now here is why this matters for what we are talking about today. Creatine and vitamin D3, when combined correctly, appear to directly attack anabolic resistance from two completely different angles. Creatine works inside the muscle cell to boost your energy currency, something called adenosine triphosphate, which gives your muscles more fuel to actually respond to training. And vitamin D3, well, it does something even more surprising that I am going to reveal in a few minutes. And honestly, when I found this research, it changed how I think about supplementation entirely. But before I get to that, I need to tell you about what is happening to your bones right now, because the muscle story is only half of this equation, and the bone story is arguably even more alarming. The bone crisis nobody warns men about, and the vitamin D3 connection you have never heard. Let me ask you something. When I say osteoporosis, what image comes to mind? Probably an elderly woman, right? Maybe your grandmother. Maybe a commercial with a woman holding her hip. Here is the truth that the medical community has been embarrassingly slow to communicate. 1 in 4 men over 50 will break a bone due to osteoporosis in their lifetime. 1 in 4. And here is the statistic that should genuinely scare you. Men who suffer a hip fracture after 65 are twice as likely to die within a year compared to women with the same fracture. Twice as likely. A study published in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research in 2023 confirmed that men are consistently underdiagnosed, undertreated, and underwarned about bone density loss. While women get screened regularly, men are basically told to walk it off until something snaps. Literally. Now, you already know vitamin D3 is important for bones. That is not new information. But here is what is new, and this is where it gets really interesting. A landmark study from the University of Eastern Finland that tracked over 20,000 men found that men with vitamin D3 levels below 20 nanograms per milliliter did not just have weaker bones. They had measurably weaker grip strength, slower walking speed, and significantly higher rates of falls. In other words, vitamin D3 deficiency does not just make your bones fragile. It makes your entire physical structure unreliable. Your muscles get weaker. Your balance deteriorates. Your reaction time slows down. And then when you do fall, your bones are too brittle to handle the impact. It is a catastrophic chain reaction, and it starts with something as simple as not having enough of a vitamin that your body produces for free when you stand in the sun. But here is the kicker, and this is the part almost nobody talks about. Roughly 70% of men over 60 in North America are deficient in vitamin D3. 70%. And it gets worse in winter months. It gets worse if you have darker skin. It gets worse if you spend most of your time indoors. And it gets dramatically worse if you carry excess body fat, because vitamin D3 is fat-soluble, meaning your fat cells literally absorb it and lock it away where your muscles and bones cannot use it. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I will just take vitamin D3 then, problem solved. Not so fast, because vitamin D3 alone, while helpful, is only one half of a combination that researchers are now calling synergistic, and the other half is creatine. And the way these two work together is something I did not fully appreciate until I dug into a very specific piece of research that most content creators have completely overlooked. I am going to break that down in the next section, but first, let me make sure you understand something critical about creatine that has been misrepresented for decades. If you are still here, you are already ahead of 90% of men your age when it comes to understanding your own body. And seriously, if you have not already, comment ready below so I can send you my free dietary plan designed for men over 50 who want to build real muscle. This is not some generic template. This is something I put together because I know what it is like to watch your body change and feel like you are losing control. You are not losing control. You are just missing the right information. Let us keep going. The creatine myth that kept an entire generation of older men away from the most studied supplement in history. I need to address something head-on because if I do not, half of you watching this are going to close this video and never try what I am about to recommend, and that would be a genuine shame. Creatine has a reputation problem. For decades, it has been associated with young bodybuilders, bloated gym rats, and the vague fear that it somehow damages your kidneys. Let me dismantle each of these one by one, because the actual science is not just clear, it is overwhelming. First, the kidney myth. This one will not die, and it drives researchers absolutely crazy. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition reviewed over 500 studies on creatine supplementation and concluded, and I am paraphrasing only slightly here, there is no evidence that creatine supplementation causes kidney damage in healthy individuals at recommended doses. None. Zero. The confusion comes from the fact that creatine supplementation raises creatinine levels in your blood, which is a marker doctors use to assess kidney function. But creatinine from creatine supplementation is not the same signal as creatinine from kidney damage. It is like seeing smoke from a barbecue and calling the fire department. Technically, there is smoke, but your house is not burning down. You are just making a fantastic brisket. Now here is what creatine actually does, and this is where men over 60 need to pay very close attention. Creatine is stored in your muscles as creatine phosphate, and its primary job is to recycle adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy molecule your muscles use for every single contraction. When you pick up a grandchild, adenosine triphosphate. When you stand up from a chair, adenosine triphosphate. When you catch yourself from falling, adenosine triphosphate. Creatine makes sure your muscles have enough of this energy available when they need it most. But here's the part that blew my mind when I first read it. A 2021 study published in the journal Nutrients found that creatine supplementation in older adults did not just improve strength. It improved what researchers call functional performance. That means real-world activities. Getting out of a car, climbing stairs, carrying groceries. The participants who took creatine, combined with light resistance training, saw improvements in lower body strength of up to 24% in just 12 weeks. 24% in 3 months. For men over 60, that is not just a number on a chart. That is the difference between independence and dependence. That is the difference between living in your own home and being told you need assisted care. And now we need to talk about what happens when you combine creatine with vitamin D3, because this is where the real magic happens, and this is the research that I promised you earlier. In 2023, a randomized controlled trial, which is the gold standard of scientific research, published in the journal Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, studied older men who took creatine combined with vitamin D3 versus those who took either supplement alone. The combination group showed significantly greater improvements in lean muscle mass, bone mineral density, and functional strength than either supplement alone. The researchers theorized that vitamin D3 enhances the muscle cell's ability to absorb and utilize creatine by improving something called the creatine transporter protein expression on the surface of muscle cells. In plain English, vitamin D3 essentially opens the door wider so creatine can actually get into your muscle cells more efficiently. Think about it this way. Creatine is the fuel. Vitamin D3 is the key that unlocks the fuel tank. Without the key, you are pouring fuel on the outside of the car and wondering why it will not start. This is why so many men take creatine and feel like it does nothing. They are vitamin D3 deficient, and their muscles literally cannot absorb the creatine efficiently. Nobody talks about this. And now you know. I have linked the exact creatine I personally use in the description below. I have tried many brands over the years, and this is the one I keep coming back to because of its purity, its third-party testing, and honestly, it dissolves properly without turning your drink into a chalky nightmare. Check it out if you are serious about this. The exact protocol, the timing that matters, and the one mistake that ruins everything. All right, you have stayed with me this far, so let us get straight to what you came for. The exact protocol, the exact doses, and the exact timing that the research actually supports. And I am going to end with the one mistake that destroys everything. So stay with me until the very end. Vitamin D3 first. Most men over 60 need between 4,000 and 5,000 international units per day to reach optimal blood levels. But here is what almost nobody tells you. Vitamin D3 is fat-soluble, meaning if you swallow it on an empty stomach with just water, you lose up to 50% of the absorption immediately. Take it with a meal that has fat in it. Eggs, avocado, nuts, anything with fat. Simple fix, massive difference. Now here is a detail that genuinely surprises people. You should be pairing your vitamin D3 with vitamin K2, specifically the -7 Malawian Kwacha's form, at around 100 to 200 micrograms daily. Why? Because without K2, the calcium that vitamin D3 helps you absorb has no traffic controller. It can end up depositing in your arteries instead of your bones. K2 is the GPS that sends calcium exactly where it belongs. This is not optional if you are serious about long-term safety. Now for creatine. 5 grams of creatine monohydrate per day. Not creatine hydrochloride, not creatine ethyl ester, not some overpriced fancy blend with the aggressive-sounding name. Plain creatine monohydrate is the most studied, most proven, most cost-effective form on the planet, and nothing else comes close. Skip the loading phase entirely. For men over 60, loading at 20 grams a day is unnecessary and will have you running to the bathroom more than you would like. 5 grams daily for 3 to 4 weeks saturates your muscles completely. Be patient. This is not a stimulant. You will not feel a tingle or a buzz. The benefits build quietly, and then one day you realize you stood up from that chair faster than you have in years. Take your creatine after your workout on training days, or with your biggest meal on rest days. Research from the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition confirmed post-workout creatine is slightly superior for building lean mass. Small detail, real difference. Now the mistake. And this is the one that ruins everything for so many men. Taking these supplements without doing any form of resistance training whatsoever. Creatine and vitamin D3 are force multipliers. They amplify the signal your muscles receive from being challenged. But if there is no signal, there is nothing to amplify. It is like pouring premium fuel into a car that has been sitting in the garage with the engine off for 5 years. Brilliant fuel. Completely useless situation. You do not need a gym membership. You do not need heavy barbells, resistance bands, bodyweight squats, light dumbbells, even deliberately heavy household tasks count as resistance stimulus. 2 sessions per week of 20 to 30 minutes is genuinely enough when your nutrition and supplementation are dialed in. A 12-month study from the University of Saskatchewan confirmed that men combining creatine, vitamin D3, and basic resistance training gained lean muscle and improved bone density at an age when the control group was losing both. Same age, same starting point, completely different outcomes. The only variable was the protocol you now have in your hands. The best creatine I personally use is linked in the description. Check it out. And if you want my free dietary plan built specifically for men over 50 to build muscle safely and effectively, drop the word ready in the comments right now. I put that plan together because I care about where you end up 10 years from now. Subscribe, share this with someone who needs it, and I will see you in the next one. Stay strong.